Hey guys, my name is Gia and I'm a vegan bodybuilder. Welcome. So today's video, guys, I am going to show you how I made my latest pancake recipe. It is almond matcha pancake. I've had a previous pancake recipe that you see in my playlist, but I'm uploading this one for two reasons. It tastes better and it's got better texture. That's kind of like good enough reasons, right? Oh, by the way, do you like my buns? I posted a vote on Instagram to see how I should do my hair for this video, and it's either 2 buns on my head, an epic side ponytail, or what was the other one? Pigtails. And you voted buns. Huns. Okay, so this video is going to be around how I make my latest pancake recipe. And it is, again, almond and matcha. Now, to be honest, I can't really taste the matcha. I kind of wish I could, and maybe you'll want to add more. But for the sake of not having to try a new recipe right now for the video, I'm just going to do what I did in the past. I'm still going to add the matcha, even though I personally can't taste it. And the only reason I'm going to add matcha, guys, is because it's still got some really great properties in it, right? So matcha is really known for having high antioxidants, as well as an amino acid L-theanine, which helps with relaxation. And as all things that I make, and I at least all the things that I've been posting in terms of recipes for this channel, this is super high protein. It is vegan. Yeah. The full recipe, guys, which, oh no, I got stuck to the drawer. Silly pockets. This whole recipe, guys, is rather large. It's going to be way too much for a meal unless you're Godzilla. This, by the way, if you see me looking at notes, it's because I got it taped all over the place. Or looking elsewhere, I've got it taped all over the place. The full recipe has 161.5 grams of protein, 106 grams of carbs, and 14.8 grams of fat. So actually, when I make this, it lasts me a couple of days. I get my protein from a bunch of other sources, like vegetables and all that stuff, tofu, that this actually lasts me for a couple of days, and it becomes one of my primary protein sources. And if I were to split this out into 10 different pancakes, guys, it would be 16.2 grams of protein, 10.6 grams of carbs, and 1 grams of fat. Not bad. 2 pancakes. About 30 grams of protein. Holla! Alright guys, let's go ahead and get started. The way that I'm going to break this out, guys, is that I am going to first just show you the ingredients that I'm going to use and give you what measurements I'm going to use. Then I'm going to all plop it together, and then we can mix and cook, and maybe that's going to be easier. So I have all the ingredients behind me. Magic, you will never know what they are. And I have my oven preheating to 400 degrees. I'll tell you why in a bit. But I've got all my dry ingredients on one side and all my wet ingredients on the other side. Reason being is when I mix, I'm going to have 2 separate bowls, dry and wet, and then I will combine them like a magical force. So the first thing that I'm going to put into the recipe is wheat gluten. Wheat gluten, you are going to have 200 grams of wheat gluten. This is my primary source of protein, as many of you folks out there are probably already aware. Then for flour, just to break up the wheat gluten and its toughness, I'm going to use 50 grams of flour. Baking powder, because what's a pancake if it doesn't rise? I'm using 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Just regular old salt. This is iodized salt. I wish I had sea salt. But I'm going to use half a teaspoon of that. This is the matcha that I've got, guys. It is the ceremonial grade, which means it's ground matcha, not the full tea leaves. Ground matcha is going to be 2 teaspoons. I'm using puffed millet rice cereal, and I'm using a cup of that, just for the sake of adding texture into my pancakes. If you guys know me already, I love me some texture. And I am going to add 10 grams of my good friend, stevia. This is all things I like it sweet. Or, this is not super sweet, but it's sweeter. Then on the wet side, guys, I've got, this is going to sound strange, but with a lot of recipes that I have, I put whole grain mustard. My favorite one is the one from Trader Joe's because it is mild in flavor. And so even though you see these in my recipes, it sounds super funny, but I can't taste it, and the people that have tried my recipes say they can't taste the mustard either, and they made it at home. So give it a whirl. Maybe just make sure you don't get the spicy kind, you know, super strong flavors. But that is going to be 30 grams of whole seed mustards. Then I have vanilla extract that I got from my local farmer's grocery store. This is going to be 2 teaspoons. I've got almond extract, which is going to be 2 teaspoons as well. Joseph's sugar-free syrup. I am going to use 131 grams of sugar-free syrup. I know measuring in grams might be hard for you guys, but I measure my life in grams, or my food in grams, and I'm pretty sure I did it by like half cup, quarter cup when I was actually making the recipes, but I eyeball a lot of things, and I was just getting the weight just so I can tell you guys how much I kind of put. So anyways, Joseph's sugar-free syrup. I like this one, guys. In my other recipes, you'll see that I called out to another syrup, but I like Joseph's because the ingredient list is actually far nicer than those that I've seen elsewhere. Almond milk. My favorite almond milk is Blue Diamond, the 30 calories, only because it is super macro friendly, which means I can use it to kind of cut liquids in my recipes with a little bit of almond milk, but not have it to be too fatty and use those macros elsewhere. Doesn't matter if I use the vanilla or the original flavor, I just like this brand. Honestly, I can't tell the difference in either of the flavors. Okay, and then I'm going to use good old half cup of tap water because that's what I drink. Sorry, 1.5 cups of tap water. And then I'm also going to use, I also measured out in the macros 5 grams of oil, but only just to put it on the grill. I actually don't think I even use 5 grams, but I always like to be conservative, and I marked it as 5 grams. Alright guys, I am going to put this stuff together, and then I'll see you on the other side. Hello friends, it is I again. Okay, so I've got the liquids all mixed up in here, or in this smaller bowl, and I've got all my dry ingredients in this bowl. You can see everything from the wheat gluten to the stevia to the matcha powder to the cereal, baking powder, salts in there, and all the other liquids are in here. The only thing that I haven't mixed in, of course, is the oil. Now, when you've got your liquid bowl, guys, remember that some things are heavier than others, especially things like your maple syrup. So I'm just going to take my little mixer. You guys can use a spoon, but I'm just going to mix this around a little bit just to make sure that the mustard and the maple syrup are incorporated into this mixture before I put it into the dry ingredients. If you guys don't have one of these little mixer thingies, frother thingies, it's super life changer. You can use it for your coffee. Well, I use it for my coffee a lot, and to mix a lot of liquids. I think you can buy it off of Amazon for like maybe like 10 bucks. Maybe I'll put a link in the description box of where I got mine. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that as is. And then I'm going to do the same thing except with my spatula for the dry ingredients, because we want to make sure that everything is mixed together well, so that, you know, some spots don't have more matcha powder, or especially baking powder and salt. And we want that as evenly distributed as possible before it all just kind of clumps into one spot. It's especially important to mix this, guys, because if you guys have watched my other videos, you'll know that wheat gluten is super tough and kind of firm. So the reason I put all these other ingredients in there, like the cereal and the mustard, is to break up that wheat gluten so it isn't so tough. But that's where I want to get my protein, so I'm using wheat gluten. Okay, so it's starting to look pretty incorporated. Make sure to get the bottom of the bowl and get any of those other fine bits in there. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to go ahead and add my liquid in. You see how everything's kind of settled at the bottom? So I'm just gonna go ahead and mix this wet and dry ingredients together. My pants are getting stuck. You'll see bubbles starting to form. That's the baking powder. Baking powder gets activated when it's added to liquids. If you guys don't see bubbles forming in your batter, it means probably that your baking powder is old like schmold. Make sure you're breaking up those chunks, scraping at the bottom. So I've already actually finished half of the batter. This is going to be my second batter. I'm going to spritz my skillet with a little bit of oil, whatever kind of oil you feel like using. I'm going to spread it around the skillet just so I don't have to use a ton of oil. I am using a ½ cup measuring spoon. I don't know if this is going to come out to actually 10 servings, but we'll see. Use a ½ cup measuring spoon. I'm going to plop it onto the skillet and kind of smush it around. If you can see what I'm doing right there, smushing it around. Oh, don't leave holes in the middle of your pancake. Make sure to space it out well enough so they don't end up touching. If they end up touching, you're actually going to have a pretty hard time flipping it over. Alright, so using a ½ cup measuring spoon, I made about 8½ pancakes. Look at that little baby guy. That's for me. Alright. So I'm going to let those pancakes cook on one side for about 3 to 4 minutes. I'm going to check the underbelly before I flip it. And then before I place the second side on the skillet, I am going to spritz it with a little bit more oil and then flip it again, and then I'll put it in the oven to just perfectly cook the inside. Okay, it's time to check the underbelly of this guy. Always get around the edges of your pancakes and make sure none of it's sticking. You'll want to check the underbelly, make sure that things are cooked pretty well under there. If you guys can see it's a bit brown under there, that's a good sign. So I'm going to go ahead and very gently just kind of get through underneath that pancake. And before I flip it, I'm going to spritz. Where did I just spray? I'm going to spray a little bit and flip. I'm going to do that same exercise with the rest of the pancakes here. Here's the first set of pancakes coming out fresh from the oven. Boop, 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 boop. I'm going to scratch it. This is going to be weird, but I'm going to scratch it so you guys can see what I'm talking about. I'm talking about trying to get it crunchy. This is going to be too hot for me to handle, but I live on the dangerous side like that. Hot. Hot. So you guys can tell that's a pretty hefty pancake. Ain't nobody like no fluffy, airy pancakes around here. I like them hefty. Hefty like my muscles. So, I am going to let these pancakes sit on the cooling rack for a couple of minutes, just so they can get a little bit of the moisture out and just be a little bit more, cook a little bit more inside, stay a little bit more firm, a little bit crunchier, because that's just how I like my pancakes. And maybe you guys decide that you don't want to put it in the oven. That's fine with me too. I don't care. You're the one eating it. I'm eating it, and this is the way I like it. I'm such a tough guy. I know some of you are still not going to understand why I put it in the oven, but I want to show you really quickly the difference between a pancake that I put in the oven versus not, at least with this recipe. So if you guys take a look at this pancake, it's pretty firm, and you can tell that the inside is pretty cooked, right? These pancakes have not yet been put in the oven. And you can tell just how smushy it is. And if you want your pancakes like that, go for it. I mean, you don't have to have it as well cooked as me, but that's just how I do it. Alright guys, this entire recipe has 161.5 grams of protein, 106 grams of carbs, 14.8 grams of fat. split it out into 10 servings, and you've got 16.2 grams of protein, 10.6 grams of carbs, and 1.5 grams of fat. That does not include the blueberry jam and the sugar-free syrup that I just put on. I hope you guys try this out. If this kind of information, recipes are helpful for you, let me know by hitting that like button. If you try it out and you try out of maybe a different version, put it in the comments below. Let me know. If you have any questions, put it in the comments below. If you want to see more content from this mug, hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell if you want to go ding ding. Hey, Baby Gorilla has posted a video. Alright guys, if you guys aren't already following me on social media, follow me on Instagram. I use that as my primary platform. Facebook is where I share my random foods of the day, and Snapchat is where I try to take random snaps of myself at the gym. Alright guys, hope that was helpful, and I hope you enjoy. See ya! You like food. I don't know how people take me seriously. This is so good, guys. I'm so happy with this recipe. I'm like super freaking happy with this freaking recipe. You know, I've never watched any of those mukbang videos, or maybe I have, like once before. But I don't know what to do with them. What, you just watch somebody eating? Alright. Because I have a hard time eating and talking. But I guess it's like, hey, I'm eating in front of my friend. Hey, let's talk about your hairdo today. Oh, yeah? Oh, you put your buzz cut into a bun. Oh, wow, you're pretty magical, man. You know what I need to show you guys? I have this, like, really easy peasy chocolate pudding recipe. That is, like, feels like it's gonna give you a heart attack. But there's like barely any macros and it's pretty healthy. That kind of recipe. That kind of pudding. I'm almost done with my pancakes. How sad. It's a good thing to have more pancakes for later tonight. See ya!